What's happening, guys and girls, YouTube? We are today in the Tiger Hammer. Finally got after completing the op. It was a bit of a pain, but did eventually get it. We're doing the PvE missions, the player versus enemy, in the Tiger. We're on Kursk at the moment, but we'll also have Tunisia. We're looking at basically a guide on how to complete it. So this is the first time I played it, so there aren't like a proper speedy run through, but there are certainly places and things you can do which I'll explain as to how to get to the next objective as quickly as possible. Now, as we first start, there's going to be two mediums. There's going to be a medium in front coming over the top of the hill and a Matilda medium coming on the right hand side. You do have to take into account that your team can actually kill these tanks very easily, so you don't have to take everything out that you see. When you first come up, the one thing I wanted to do was to shoot the Matilda on the right. The way the objectives go is that you start off in this one where I'm at now, then you move up to A0, then the middle, then the far left with the castle. So if you wanted to really make sure that you were as quickly as possible and gaining as much time as you can, at this point you would want to try and rush the Matilda. You'll not get shot by the medium behind, and the friendly team do actually do quite a good job in this case of killing the other tank behind me. So the only thing you're looking to do is to win the game. Doesn't matter how much damage you do, doesn't matter how much you do in terms of the game in tracking or any sort of any damage at all. The only thing you're looking for is the actual win. So what I'll be doing at the moment is moving on to the next objective and finding out where the next tanks are going to come from, trying to cut down as much time. I'll try and speed the clip up so we can actually get there. It's super speed on this Tiger. There are later tanks in games where there's the two IS-3s, but they're very easy to remove even with the tank that we've got now, and I'll explain how it is that you can get that done. One of the things you'll be looking at when you watch these videos is where tanks are going to be coming from. You're only really going to be fighting at least two tanks at once, is like the possible maximum in that case actually. So you can pick and choose your targets and which ones you'll find the most useful to try and remove. Now don't forget that your team are capable of removing the lower tier tanks, specifically the light ones. The way that the AI works, generally it'll move up to a spot and then stop. They're also slow firing and sort of inaccurate, so they tend to use like an auto lock on you more often than not, and you can side scrape this tank against those ones if you do need to. There will be some spots where I can show you that that does actually happen. So the team itself behind me are moving up with me. The starting is the LTTB that will move up in the middle. The rest of the tanks will come where I'm actually heading towards now. This is where I thought they would come straight away, but because the heavy tanks are actually quite slow, KV-85 and IS, tier 7, tier 6, tier 7 respectively, they didn't. So I assume that, right, so there's going to be a tank coming up the middle. Most of the time you'll always find the light tanks engage you first because of their speed, and a lot of times you don't need to engage them and properly try and take them on. You want to wait until the heavy tanks come. As it is, the LTTB is pointing elsewhere at the other team, so that's okay because it means you can get a few extra shots on, and you are able to side scrape them in some cases because they do tend to hit the side of the armor rather than the actual front. So this is where the LTTB got took out by the other team, my own teammates, which is ideal because that's what you're wanting them to do. And so the heavies will come around the corner because he's removed, they're not shooting at him. You will need to take into account the target acquisition. A lot of times they will shoot the first thing that they see. So if there's a tank in front of them, regardless of whether it's a light, a heavy, a tank destroyer, they will shoot it. So what you want to do is to leave that tank to them and then go and shoot something else that's got full health. A lot of times when I played Tunisia, I was shooting at tanks that were full health rather than the ones that were in front of me because my own team were doing a good job. Unfortunately, because the IS isn't upgraded, I don't need to worry about him penning the front of the tank. He's more than likely going to hit the side or the back. Not the big derpy gun, so you don't need to be too worried. So this is where the heavies come up on the side. I trap him. He is sort of still far enough back that I can hit him, but the teammates behind me are having a harder time, so I'm having to spend more time in order to remove him, but it still leaves me with plenty of time to move on to the next objective. Now again, you could have left him to actually be killed by your own teammates and move on and try and cut the amount of time down. Gives you a little bit of extra time, but these are all ones that you'll be able to figure out in game what you can and can't do. So we'll speed up the clip again and move it forward to the next objective. Any time that you can spend travelling to and from is extra time spent removing tanks from the game. The other thing to take into account is that you can treat this as like an assault game type and you're defending. You don't need to move forward, they will come after you, but you can sort of work out where they're going to come from because of where you have to travel from and to, and where it is you're actually driving to. So I figure at this moment they're either going to come from in front of me or up on the ridge on the right. I actually thought it was up on the ridge on the right because of the cover, but then I was completely wrong, so it sort of worked out and I got myself in a place, but all 4 of them came in one spot, so it's like, oh, I don't know what to aim for. The 2 tier 6s bounce off me on a regular occasion. There isn't much reason for me to want to shoot them over and over again. Even though it gets the actual health down, I want to be trying to aim at something that's got more health, more armor, and is quite a bigger threat in my case. But the A44 isn't something of a threat when it's not fully upgraded. I mean, he bounces off the front. So even though it is not like a massive one, I'd prefer to get rid of him rather than the light tank to my left. Again, just on the basis that he's the larger target, and I know that he's going to run forward into the flag and get people that are there. Now I know the ARL is going to come behind again, but his gun is not very good at all. So I'm going to leave the light tank to the other team to shoot him and kill him, and then I'm just going to go on and kill the ARL and then move on to the next objective. Again, picking the targets, making sure I know what I'm going to be aiming at, and allowing the other teammates to actually do some work as well. Again, you're not looking for damage, you're not looking for ribbons or any sort, you're just looking for the win on the game. So you don't really need to be the YOLO, swag balls, proper person who's going to go out and clutch the game. You just need to win. Now the final one, you'll always have 6 tanks that will come after you. There's 2 IS-3s that will pop up. Now I don't know if this will be the case on every game that's played, but there's one of the IS-3s which has a nice little nifty spot that he likes to hide in and remains undetected for it. And one of the things you'll have to look out for with both the IS-3s, they will shoot regardless of whether they can see you. That's the thing that makes them very easy to kill. So you can peekaboo and get 2 shots in before they've reloaded, and they will fire at a wall, just because the way the AI works. I don't know, it's very simple. I mean, it's akin to potato players, to be perfectly honest. So you don't have to get your tank out in the middle, you don't have to take shots. Just play peekaboo with them and you will guarantee removal. And that will be perfectly illustrated a bit later on. So this is one of the few ones I can actually see, so it's the one I'm going to be going for. I'm sat more or less in the front, which is where the enemy team will be coming from. Every now and then I'll be zooming out just to see where they all are. There is a bit of a rush going on with them all, so it's a bit of a case of just try and shoot as much as you can, just try and get the health down and pick the targets, whether it will be the tier 7s and 8s that you want to be really going for. I have a sort of habit for going for those tanks because I'm not expecting a IS to be playing a game that's not fully upgraded, and this is just from playing the multiplayer, but it happens on the PvE, so there's not really too much to worry about. He's aiming at another tank, and I know that he's likely to bounce if I side scrape properly, so again, there's not too much of an issue with me knowing that I can pen him, he can't pen me. I don't really need to be that forward if I wanted to be, I don't need to be that aggressive. It'd just be the case of trying to get the health down on as many tanks as possible. He does get a nice little side shot, but I wanted to make sure the cap flag isn't going to be capped by the enemy team. Because they moved around in the position of our own team, it allows us to be in position to then forcefully remove them from the game. We're now leaving on to the IS-3s. They're possibly the biggest problem that people may find with them, but because he's facing another way, I can lower the cap points down. The only problem is, other IS-3 is hidden really well. Still to this time I don't really know how he's in that corner part and how he doesn't like get shot at, but he does. So I've now got the issue of needing to find him and get his cap points down. I can remove him and get a little bit better on the actual timing, but unfortunately I can't squeeze through this gap even though there's you can get a bust through that gap between the building and the tank, but yeah. So it's just a case of removing him and moving around. This is where the peekaboo comes in. I'm not on a lot of health at the moment. I've taken quite a bit of damage specifically from the IS, the one I thought that wouldn't be that much of a problem. What I'm looking to do at the moment is just reset the cap, so it's pretty much the same as a normal player game. I'm going to aim at his tracks, I'm going to get damage on his tracks, I'm going to reset the cap so I can then position myself in a way that I can get the win for the game. You can see the IS-3 is shooting at the wall. He's not shooting at me, he's shooting where I am. But the AI is so stupid that it will just fire at the wall, so all I need to do is wait for him to fire and shoot his lower front plate. I do move around the back to get another shot on him. Again, he's not going to be able to shoot me, even though he's very close to reloading. I'm still going to be able to make it. Unfortunately, I bounced that shot. But again, he's firing at the wall, so there's nothing much for me to do in order to get him removed. All I need to do is 2 shots, move behind cover, wait for him to shoot, then shoot him again until he's dead. The cap's never going to get caught. And wait for it to go through. There we go. Big plume of smoke, and the game's over because he's deciding his every wisdom he's going to shoot a wall. And that's pretty much how it is. I ended up completing the mission, going through. The IS-3s aren't that big of a threat when you come to the end of it. So I'm hoping that this would serve as a relatively good guide for you to use, and hopefully you even got some ideas from it and what you can do yourself. But that's pretty much Kursk as it is. Hopefully if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.